Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more AmITheButtHole. And if you love a Reddit story, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. It all really helps out the channel. I can never express that enough. Thank you so much, and let's crack straight on with today's stories. Much love, guys. Now, our first story comes with like a mini update attached to it from Trash as Fuck Giving, who says, "Am I the asshole for calling my stepdad pathetic and my mother spineless during Thanksgiving dinner? I'm 19 female and using a throwaway because my siblings use Reddit. I know it sounds bad, but here's the gist. I've got two siblings, 15 female, 17 male. And while I lived in mum and stepdad's household, currently at university, I was tasked with most chores, washing dishes, doing laundry, cleaning, running errands, you name it, while my siblings had none. Their reasoning? You're older. I protested this many times, telling them my siblings were old enough to also share the chores, but stepdad always shouted me down and called me ungrateful after he put a roof over my head and fed me. That's been a line he's thrown at me endlessly. My siblings have been given anything they want, allowance, gifts, electronics, but if I asked for something, I was told I didn't need it. That's why I started babysitting at 12, so I could buy my own goods. I've worked since. They stopped buying me basic goods like sanitary products as soon as I started working. I'm at university on a full scholarship because I knew early on I'd be on my own on this front. I worked my ass off to get my top choice, and I love it there. I feel free and in control of my life. The issue came during dinner. Mum, stepdad, grandparents, aunts, uncles and cousins were there. I was talking to aunt who'd congratulate me on getting into my university, and stepdad says loudly, OP thinks her fancy college makes her better than everyone else as usual. I can't explain what was different this time, but I'd snapped. I told him he was pathetic for picking on me all my life when all I'd done is try to be a good kid, and I told my mum she was spineless for letting him treat me this way, and I left, which felt like the right thing to do at the time. I slept at a friend's and got a train back to university the next day. My mother has since called me distraught, like full on sobbing, saying I was being overdramatic and that I humiliated them. She says that I'm ungrateful because look at how well you're doing, that's because of us. And I just don't know. I feel bad she's this hurt. People have it worse. I am doing well. I have a family to come home to. I just don't know. Am I being dramatic? Am I the arsehole? And as I said, this story does follow with a small mini update as well. Absolutely not the arsehole. In the line that look how well you're doing, that's because of us, is absolutely untrue. You got yourself into this position even though they've made it harder for you. And stepdad coming in with a bullshit line of, I put a roof over your head. How very kind of a parent to do that, right? But Local Ghost says, you're not doing well because of them. You're doing well in spite of them. There's a massive difference and they need to learn it. Not the arsehole. Eats Faces for Brunch says, not the arsehole. And in case you took your mother's words to heart, I need you to know that you are where you are in spite of them, not because of them. You raised yourself. You worked your butt off to get away from them. You are the only one who deserves credit for how wonderfully you are doing. Lola says, not the arsehole, and you did the right thing by standing up for yourself. Are your siblings full siblings or half siblings? Dr. Crash 38 says, not the arsehole. You need to establish these boundaries with them as an adult. Whisker Kitty says, holy shit, not the arsehole. I don't know you, but I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. I sense your stepdad is weirdly jealous of you in a way, and shame on your mum for letting him talk to you that way. You clearly worked your ass off. I wonder why he favours the other siblings. And one more comment before the update from Little Happy Feets, who says, and quotes, I put a roof over your head and fed you. Then says, try not doing it and see what the cops do to you, pal. He doesn't get an award for not abandoning a minor to the streets. I almost added neglecting along with that, but they did neglect you, emotionally and physically. If your own child is forced to buy her own sanitary products at age 12, you have failed as a parent and a human being. There is absolutely no excuse to give every child in the family what they need and want except for one. I wish your parents could get a link to this so they could see how everyone thinks of what they did. You didn't do well because of them, you did well in spite of them. A minor being denied necessities is them working against you. You worked hard to take care of yourself while they denied you the same love and care you witnessed your siblings receive. And of course, your siblings would back him up. They get all the goodies from them. They got the chill on their butts while you did all the chores. They got the gifts, the love, the bias. Why would they stand up to him when they got to benefit from your mistreatment? You have nothing to be ashamed of. Their treatment is a reflection of them, not you. I mean, look at you. You're incredible. You shouldn't have to struggle, but I'm so proud of you for making it. You took your future into your own hands at a young age, worked hard, and got into university, a full scholarship. That takes hard work and dedication. Just gosh. Parents dream of having a kid like you. Smart, persevering, and driven, valuing education. What's there to be ashamed of? Nothing. If your parents truly had anything to do with your success, your stepfather wouldn't have complained about your degree. He'd have been proud of it. But you did it all on your own. You didn't need him to succeed, and that's what makes him bitter. They tried to clip your wings and you still flew. Not the arsehole. And the small update edit says, Update 1. I can't tell you how validating these comments have been. I never talk about my family in real life because deep down, I think I feel ashamed of how my family treats me. So this has been helpful really. I don't have it in me yet to tell them what I need to tell them outright, but I do have it in me to go no contact. They don't fund any part of my life, so the only thing they can hold over me is themselves. I'm writing an email now to let them know not to contact me and that I won't be contacting them until I'm ready to communicate. 2. Brother texts me, Mum won't stop crying, hope you're happy. Sister texted, this sucks. So there's that. I love my younger siblings, but I'm going no contact with them as well before I figure out what I want. Thanks for the support. Now, many times when we get like these updates, it's always sort of a negative that turns into a positive in the end, and I think this is going to be one of those cases as well, that, you know, OP finally stood up for themselves and they're doing what's right for them and deciding what they want to do without any guilt. But what do you guys make of this one? Let me know what you would say to OP in this situation, and let's move on to another story. And another Thanksgiving story coming in from Cautious Cookie 5195, who asks, am I the arsehole for saying that my kids can never be around mother-in-law's husband after what he did at Thanksgiving? We spent Thanksgiving with mother-in-law and stepfather-in-law. I always tell my kids they don't ever have to give hugs or kisses if they don't want to. My daughter 5 seems to feel bad for mother-in-law and hug her. My son 7 chooses not to, and that is his choice. Mother-in-law is pretty much the only person he doesn't hug. Mother-in-law isn't a terrible person, but I've always gotten the feeling that she doesn't really like any of us, but goes through the motions out of guilt and obligation. There are some cultural differences, and I know she feels she has a responsibility as a mother, even though my husband is an adult. She helped us buy a house and paid for our wedding, but never comes around. She's also extremely awkward around the children. Anyway, we went because my kids love seeing all of their step-cousins, and it is always a good time. When we got there, my son wouldn't hug mother-in-law but hugged everyone else. Note, I don't think she even wants a hug. I think it embarrasses her. Her husband tried to guilt-trip my son, and I shut that down because I don't tolerate emotional manipulation. Mother-in-law at some point needed a shallot and sent her husband to the store. He brought one of his grandkids with him. Mother-in-law's husband has about 7 grandkids and is like catnip to children. He came back with candy for all the kids, including my daughter, but none for my son. When I gave him a what the fuck look, he said, but I thought I didn't owe anyone anything and I'm not responsible for other people's feelings. Which is language I've used to explain why I don't force my kids to give hugs. My son was clearly very upset because he was being excluded, but also thought he likes mother-in-law's husband a lot. Mother-in-law's husband said he doesn't like how my son treats his wife, and he knows it sucks, but kids have to learn hard lessons sometimes. I took my daughter's candy away, gave it back to him, and we left. I said that man will never see my son again. If mother-in-law wants to visit our house, she can. Not that she ever has, literally ever, but they will never see him again. This sucks because they have gotten close to his grandchildren, and all 3 of his children told me that if I do this, they are done with me. When I asked about scheduling playdates, my husband doesn't like what he did, but thinks I'm overreacting, and he's from a different generation and a different culture, and we should talk it out. But I feel like for a grown man to do that to a kid is straight up evil. And we're going to start with AML2346, who says, I get the feeling that you don't actually want your kids to hug mother-in-law, and I'm guessing they pick up on that too. Torn between everyone sucks here and you're the arsehole. I think stepfather-in-law most likely knows how you feel about mother-in-law and is proving a point. He was still rude, but regardless, I think you're overreacting. Also at 7, you're teaching your son that if he doesn't get something he wants, a piece of candy, he should just cut that family member out of his life. Dancing Chinese Kid says, you're the arsehole. You have a lot of expectations about other people controlling their emotions and being responsible for their emotions, but apparently you are allowed big, sweeping grand gestures and ultimatums. Mother-in-law's husband was an arsehole, but was he wrong? Can you explain in words how he was wrong given your own logic? In quotes, I took my daughter's candy away, gave it back to him and we left. I said that man will never see my son again. Then says, why did you take your daughter's candy away? I don't have any time for emotional manipulation, but how dare he make my son sad one time? You can literally never see him again in your entire life. I know he actually loves you and will be sad about that, but I have a point to prove to the universe. Give me that candy, daughter. Mum is teaching the world a lesson about emotional control. Vantacolor says, oof, everyone sucks here. Father-in-law sucks for using your son as a means to try to make a point and completely disregarding his feelings. But this is like a small hole in the boat that can be patched and you're ready to just take the family and abandon ship. It's over the top and overall unnecessary. Now let's discuss why this all happened. Your father-in-law went out of his way to single out your child in order to make a point. This point being your mother-in-law feels singled out by her own grandchild, and not only do you blatantly disregard her feelings on the matter, you encourage this type of interaction. She clearly cares for your family and has hurt the way you'll reciprocate. She has discussed this with her husband to the point he is upset with how upset she is. Just because people don't wear their hearts on their sleeve doesn't mean they're heartless. Princess Snakeface says everyone sucks here. That was an arsehole move of him. But that man will never see my son again. Come on, calm down. You completely overreacted. Imaginary Hippo 8280 says everyone sucks here. Stepfather-in-law was wrong to punish a child for a situation you as the parent created. You are way off base on many levels. I do not force my stepkids to hug their step-grandmother. I can count on one hand the number of times my stepkids have hugged me. They do hug my husband as well as other people. Now, just because they don't hug my mother doesn't mean they're exempt from greeting her. I expect them to say hello, be polite and respectful, etc. And I don't feel this is emotional manipulation in any way. Why is your kid hugging everyone except his grandmother? I'd wager a guess as to say it's because he is loyal to you and he knows how you feel about his grandmother. What if he refuses to hug your mother or you? Do the same standards apply? Are you requiring to greet her politely and warmly regardless of whether he hugs her? And one more from Gigabean3 who says you're the arsehole. If your husband wants to work it out, you don't get the only say. You can't expect to cut someone out without the rest of the family taking sides. What he did was kinda shitty, but honestly, I suspect the son is excluding mother-in-law because of how you feel about her. You even say your daughter only hugs her because she feels sorry for her. What? She's 5. Maybe she likes her. You could have told your daughter to share the candy, but no, you punished her with no candy because you were mad. You're emotionally manipulative. If this woman and her husband are so bad, don't live in the house she paid for and refund the wedding. Don't use her for financial gain, then trash her being terrible. Take the stand that would cost you money, not your daughter candy. Now, what do you guys make of this one? What would you do in this situation? Seems like an everyone sucks here from the verdicts. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and we'll move on to another story. And our next story comes from Candid Advisor 5615 who says, am I the arsehole for asking my husband to not send his son a birthday gift? Oh dear. I, 29 female, met my husband 30 male around 7 years ago, and we've been together for 6 and married for 4. Around a year into dating, I found out he had a son that had been born when he was 19 with his then girlfriend. I wasn't aware of this because he had no custody of his son, because he didn't really want major responsibility at the time, and his baby's mother was okay with that. But he has always sent his son birthday and Christmas gifts, and has sometimes gone to special events, and over the course of the time I've known him, he's definitely gotten more into his fatherly role. Over the course of this year, my husband and I have been saving up to buy a new house, and we're getting pretty close to the amount of money we need for the one we'd like. And we haven't been buying anything other than necessities while saving up. My husband's son's birthday is next week, and my husband told me he's planning to buy him a Nintendo Switch and some games for it, since the mother of his son told him he likes that stuff. I asked if the games were necessary, or if the Switch even was. My husband was confused and said it was his birthday gift for his son. I said it was an expensive purchase, especially seeing as we're saving up right now, and that he isn't involved in his son's life anyway, so why should he have to buy him gifts? My husband said I don't understand because I don't have any kids of my own, especially not ones I don't see, and I don't understand the situation. We've sort of moved on from the conversation and he's bought the gifts, but he still seems pissed off at me. Am I the arsehole for thinking he should save his money? You know, I came into this one from the title, I was like, oh yeah, you're definitely going to be the arsehole. And then you started talking about Nintendo Switch and games, and I thought, yeah, maybe you're reasonable for asking to maybe reduce the price, maybe a less expensive gift. Not that it compares to when you're saving for a house, I mean, we're talking different levels of money here, but I could maybe understand asking to spend maybe a bit less money. But then you said, not buy a gift at all. Of course that's going to make you the arsehole, holy moly. But, going with a little hot take on this one as well, I do wonder if isn't everyone sucks here, because in the first two sentences, it says around a year into dating, I found out he had a son that had been born when he was 19, and surely this information should have come out a lot sooner. But maybe I won't get into that for now, and I'll just go with the initial question and say you're the arsehole for asking your husband to not send a birthday gift to his son. Absolutely. Hit the Ball Please says you're the arsehole. This doesn't even need explanation. You are indeed the arsehole. Next question. Nut Michelle says you're the arsehole. Wow, the fact you even let this come out your mouth is reprehensible. Your husband has every right to be angry with you and frankly to reevaluate being married to someone who would behave so selfishly. Relentless Fuckery says you're the arsehole. You asked your husband not to send his 11-year-old a birthday gift, point blank. Like you jumped all the way to, since you have no real relationship with your son, why send the gift at all? I could see asking him to split the cost with his ex, but to ask your husband to send his child no gift? Put yourself in that child's shoes. Hardly ever sees dad, stepmom who doesn't see you as part of the family, and then dad doesn't send a birthday gift. You really didn't think that was through at all, did you, OP? Do you want your stepson to hate your husband? Because that's what would happen if your husband had less sense and listened to you. Jake and Bake says, in this housing market, what is $300 anyway? You're the arsehole unquestionably. Molly Rolls says you're the arsehole, he barely does anything resembling parenting as it is, and you want him to do less. Shame on you. Princess Snakeface says of course you're the arsehole, who else should it be? A dad who wants to get his son some cool gifts for his birthday. An Electrical Date replies to that, and the guy's a deadbeat dad at that. It doesn't sound like he pays child support, so OP doesn't even want him to continue with the 2 fatherly gestures that he does each year. Most people would encourage their spouse to be a better parent. OP encourages him to be worse. This honestly sounds like these 2 people deserve each other, and I'm sure OP will have a full-on Pikachu face if she has a kid, aka responsibility, in the future, and her husband turned into a birthday and Christmas plus photo op parent. Hopefully his new partner won't treat her kid like OP treats this little boy. Now, what do you guys make of this one? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll move on to another story. And our next story comes from a throwaway account who asks, am I the arsehole for leaving my boyfriend stranded at a party for making a joke? I 19 female have been with my boyfriend 25 male for about 6 months. We don't live together, but I spend a lot of time at his place. A week ago or so I was feeling quite sick, not wanting to drive home. I spent the night at his place. He woke me up at about 5 AM, and to my great embarrassment I had wet the bed. I helped him clean up the best I could. I had a temperature of around 103.8 Fahrenheit and he took me to hospital. They kept me overnight. A few days later, when I saw him again, I apologized for what happened. He told me it's alright and that he got me a gift. He pulled out a package of adult diapers and threw them at me. I told him that I didn't think it was very funny and explained that I was embarrassed, but he thought it was hilarious. I decided to let it go and talk about it later. We went to a party that night, not really a party, us and about 6 other friends, about an hour away. I drove since he doesn't have a car. After he had a few beers, he started loudly telling them what had happened, forgetting to mention that I was sick and had a high fever. Just a part of me wetting the bed and him buying the diapers. He encouraged my friends to joke about it, and after trying to explain, but being talked over or laughed at, I left and went home. My boyfriend is obviously quite upset I left without him. I just didn't want to be stuck in the car with him for an hour. He sent me several texts since then, most of which are calling me too sensitive and not able to take a joke. Some of my friends agree with him. Am I the arsehole? It's not a joke. He purposely went out to embarrass you. So sod your boyfriend, sod your friends as well for treating you this way. With friends like those, who needs bloody enemies? Something like that, which I assume would be incredibly embarrassing for that person, and then used it as a cheap joke. Which I said is not really a joke, is it? You had to be hospitalized after that. So yeah, to buy these adult diapers out and throw them and you make a joke and then bring it up in front of your friends, hell no. It's one of them ones, and I know we say it all the time, why would you want to be with that person? Someone willing to put you on the spot like that. Absolutely not the arsehole to me. I would have left that person as well. General Relative says, info, why aren't you referring to him as your ex-boyfriend? Edited to add, not the arsehole. Nut Michelle says, not the arsehole. Your boyfriend took a time when you were sick and vulnerable and decided to use it to get a cheap laugh from his friends with complete disregard for your feelings. He's an arsehole and you deserve to be treated better. Middle Plantain says, not the arsehole. Give yourself some time to decide if you want to be in a relationship with someone who can't distinguish between a joke and humiliation. OP replies saying, I am deciding, but my friends agreeing with him made me doubt if maybe I was overreacting. Just Miss Casey says, I don't say this about all age gap relationships, but seems there's a reason the 25-year-old is dating someone 6 years younger. Never Gonna Tell You says, making a joke at someone else's expense is called being a bully. I'm going to leave this right here. A red flag. Random Thoughts at 2 AM says, not the arsehole. Honestly, if my boyfriend did that to me, that would be the end of the relationship because it shows that he didn't care that I was sick, doesn't care about my feelings, and his friends will encourage this behavior in the future. Oberdictor says, not the arsehole. He was with friends. It's not like you abandoned him in the middle of nowhere. He was being cruel. This is just natural consequences. Also, dump him. Keep in mind in the future, there's not too many well-meaning, mature 25-year-olds who are interested in dating 19-year-olds. Sounds like this guy is dating younger because women his own age aren't putting up with his immaturity. Now, what do you guys make of this one? I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below. As I said at the very start, if you do love a Reddit story, there is a playlist on your screen right now that will just scroll through all the Am I the Arsehole videos we have on here. And by going through that playlist as well, it hugely helps out the channel, but never any pressure to do so. You already do more than enough for me. I'd love to know what you're doing whilst you're listening. As always, it makes my day to know all the different things that you guys are getting up to. Thank you so much for your love, your support, and your time, and I will see you, you cheeky so-and-so, in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love.